The wrap. George, Ringer. Good to be here. Wow.
This is kind of a full-time broadcasting thing today.
Well, you know, you got to get a 2 hours blue hour in. You got to get a 1 hour sports wrap in. You know, there's no time, no rest for the wicked.
No.
As they say. So.
Yeah, and I fill that category pretty much, so we're good shape there.
So where should we start?
We can start just about anywhere you want.
We say that every week. And
well, maybe the freshest is last night's Gopher game.
Yeah. Couldn't they come up with a plan before they start the show? Why do they got to? Couldn't they say before they hit the record button where we're going to start with? But no, that's not the way we roll.
No, it's not. No.
Anyway, let's start with the Gopher football game.
We'll start with the Gopher football.
You know, an 18-6 win isn't necessarily a butt whooping by any stretch of the imagination score-wise, but it seemed like the Gophers kind of owned the game.
Well, I don't think that they were ever. The game was ever in doubt. I mean, they controlled, especially defensively. But you have to keep in mind a little bit. West Virginia was no schmuck team. They're a pretty good football team.
Yeah, 6-6 made me think. You know, we were 8-4 in the Big Ten. They were 6-6 in the Big 12. I mean, right off the bat, if I'm in Vegas, I'm betting my brains out on the Gophers.
Oh, I was too.
I mean, I'm going. This is a win for the Gophers. You know, when it got to 8-6, I got nervous because all of a sudden it was just like, well, they don't even belong in the game with us right now, but they're there.
They're there.
You know, all we got to do is make another couple of mistakes, and now it's a 13-8 lead or whatever, and it never felt comfortable because we were doing our best Gopher things. You know, not getting touchdowns inside the red zone, fumbling for the first time in the red zone all year. Those are things that, you know, the Gopher obviously didn't do all year long, but they could run the ball pretty consistently. I thought Tanner Morgan threw the ball well.
He did.
In the first half. I didn't watch the second half. It's a little too late for Tim. But I thought for the most part, I thought the Gophers looked very good. West Virginia did, I think, everything in their power to take Chris Ottman-Bell away. That left other guys open, and I thought they did the job for the most part.
Well, I have to agree. And defensively, they were solid against the Gophers. But, you know, they got the ball first, and Gopher defense kicked off at that point in time, and they had some very outstanding play from Pinckney and from Maffey and some of the rest of those guys. They had some real good defensive plays.
It seemed to me that West Virginia just whoever the offensive coordinator never got into a good rhythm with his team. He had an idea what he wanted to do when they went into the game, and then it was just kind of like, well, what do we do now? You know, they seem to want to throw the short pass. They thought maybe they could break some runs loose, and then they found out, hey, the Gophers can cover that.
Well,
now what do we do?
And their quarterback was not very mobile, and so but they do have good running backs. They do have some pretty good receivers, you know, and who's like you say, they were in that game pretty much right up till the end, and so you know, I enjoyed watching them play. I enjoyed seeing Big Dan Falela get a touchdown. That is the biggest fullback I've ever seen. And
yeah, you know, we think back to the refrigerator 36, 37 years ago.
He's got 50 pounds on the fridge.
And you just kind of go, well, geez, the fridge was huge, you know. I mean, he was eating McDonald's, what were they called?
McRibs?
No, McBL. What the heck were they? McBLTs or something. Anyway, he was out there selling those and eating those and smiling and whatever else and keeping the weight on. And yeah, Big Daniel's got 30, 40, 50 pounds on him, so kind of scary.
Well, you know, and you take a look at the way he played, he controlled that whole right side of the offensive line, and and it used to be he was able to do this with size, but he's trimmed down quite nicely. He gets downfield on some of his blocks. He's going to go in the first round, and I'd like to see him go in the first round to Minnesota. But there's 5 other guys offensive line that are going to get drafted.
Yeah, you know, somebody said to me today, why don't the Vikings just pick up the Gopher offensive line? And I said, well, because I think the Gopher offensive line can run one. I don't know if they can pass one.
No, I'm not sure that they can either.
That's something that everybody needs work on. So,
yeah.
What did you think of them going for 2? on the first touchdown. What was that?
I'm not quite sure what his thoughts were, but as long as you had it working and you seem to be running downhill, I guess I didn't have a problem with it.
I mean, I didn't have a problem with it either. I just, was it just? It's a North Dakota State thing. Some high school teams do it. Line up and do something fun on the first extra point. Talk about Madden. Oh, we're going to talk about John. Yeah.
At the same time,
No, and the other thing was, the Gophers, like you say, really had control from top to bottom on either side. They're going to have to replace that offensive line, but they've got some nice receivers, a ton of running backs. It's my buddy down in the cities. Do they have too many running backs? I says they had 7 on scholarship, and they didn't have too many this year.
Yeah,
and so
they might get to the point next year where somebody's going to get disgruntled and enter my favorite place, the portal. But to me, my concern for next year already is how do you replace all those offensive linemen? How do you replace 4 starters? Yes, you ran a lot of 7-man offensive line this year at times. But to me, you got to come. The reason why those running backs were so successful is because of the offensive line.
No doubt.
George and I know that. We've been trying to convince you of that on this show. For those of you that watch us religiously, why I'm not sure, but we thank you for doing it.
Yeah.
Anyway, what else college football-wise, or anything else Gopher-wise before we move on to the rest?
No, it was a great season, and I think PJ is on the right track. I think. And I say that because...
You mean you forgot about that loss to Bowling Green?
No, I haven't forgot about that loss to Bowling Green, nor the loss to Illinois, neither one of which... I mean, you got those two, pick up Iowa, and I'd have been watching the game in the Rose Bowl this weekend. And as it turned out, it didn't turn out.
Yeah.
So, we'll see where we're going.
Games, right?
That's why they play the game.
That's why we have fun.
Yeah.
So,
anyway,
of course, we're going through some COVID cancellations in the college football ranks.
Or in hockey ranks.
Or in hockey. We'll talk more about that a little later. But some games that are being postponed. Teams that were healthy now are going to get together and play elsewhere. So there's a big one tonight.
There is.
The Alamo Bowl has got Oregon versus Oklahoma. And, of course, Oregon was Oregon.
Oregon.
Yeah, how you want to say it. Anyway, I don't want to get myself into trouble. But, Oregon was battling for possibly a Final Four spot.
Oh, they were. Yeah, they were rated, the second at one time.
And so was Oklahoma, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Oklahoma was right there. Now Oklahoma loses their coach, et cetera, et cetera. Oregon's thinking about trying to bring in Chip Kelly, and it's crazy. But these two teams are pretty good football teams, and I'd like to say that I could watch it tonight, but after staying up late as I did to watch the Gophers, I don't think there's any chance that I'm going to make the 8:15 start.
It is an 8:15 start. But the 5:45 start is Clemson and Iowa State, and that might be an interesting game as well.
I know Clemson's ranked 19th. I'm going to go with Iowa State.
I'm going to agree with you.
I like Iowa State. They didn't play consistent football, kind of like Clemson did, but I think Clemson looks as this as a kick in the pants because they're used to playing for national championships. This is a icky bowl game. This is a you've been a bad boy bowl game. You didn't play very well this year, so you get to go play in this little rinky-dink bowl over here. For Iowa State, they're playing for the moon, and they got a chance to beat Clemson, and they're going to hang that hat on there, and that's why Clemson loses.
I agree. And then we got Penn State and Arkansas. I believe is that tomorrow?
That could be. Tomorrow's Purdue and Wisconsin.
Tomorrow's Purdue and Wisconsin.
So I think that one might be on Saturday. Saturday-ish.
Okay. And then Wisconsin and Purdue. But this was the first Big Ten win during our
Yeah, the SEC is 0-4 thing. That's nice. Everybody's enjoying that, except for the people from the SEC, of course. But having said that, the bowl games aren't necessarily fair. I point to the Gopher game for probably the example. I think the Gophers got an easy opponent. PJ had to play it up and say they were a quality opponent. I just felt right from the word go that the Gophers should be favored and should win the ball game, and I think sometimes that's the way that it works out.
Oh, and we got a couple of games on Friday.
Really?
Yeah.
What games could those be, Joe?
Well, I tell you, we got Cincinnati upsetting Alabama.
Oh, he's still holding on to that.
And,
this was like 2 weeks ago we talked about that. Oh, I'm getting a thumbs up from Mike over there.
And
he thinks Cincinnati's going to beat Alabama.
I do.
You guys are crazy. Have you guys been in the sauce in the afternoon?
Not yet.
Or what?
Not yet. And then I'm telling you, Michigan is going to upset Georgia. And
you're going to tell me
Michigan's going to upset Georgia.
You're going to tell me that there is no SEC team in this national championship game. That's what you're selling me.
That's what I'm saying.
George, you couldn't be wronger, I don't think. I'm going to disagree with you all the way.
Michigan is hot, and they are ready to go. And
Georgia lost their last game,
and Georgia lost their game.
And they are trying to show everybody that they were the best team in the nation all year, and they are going to come out and rip Michigan a new bunghole.
Well, I'm going to tell you, the one that's going to come out with the most enthusiasm is going to be the Wildcats from Cincinnati. They are pumped. They've not been here before.
Bearcats out there.
Or Bearcats, yeah.
Stewart will be all over.
Yeah, Bearcats. So this is going to happen.
Wow, he's all for Cincinnati. Yeah, I see it as an all SEC championship. Some people might say that's chalk. I know you know who I'm talking about. No, I honestly believe Cincinnati gets beat by 3 touchdowns.
Whoa.
I'm calling it a blowout. Matter of fact, it's the first game of the afternoon on Friday. I'm doing the Bronco hockey game at 1:30. This game's supposed to start about 2:40-ish. I'm not even worried about missing it. I'm not, because Alabama's going to have.
Well, it's okay. I'll send you the bad news.
I get all my equipment packed up and in the car and turn the radio on, it's going to be over. And then I'll get home just in time for Georgia, Michigan, and I expect Georgia to win that game 10 points.
No, you know what I mean? It's not that Alabama's playing Texas Tech. Wait a second. They lost to Texas Tech. It's Texas A&M. So they can lose.
Well, they're not as invincible as they have been in the past.
They do have a Heisman Trophy winner. And so we'll see just what he does. But I think a year ago, nobody would have predicted that he'd be the Heisman winner.
No, I don't think so either. Yeah. Alabama is going to be short one of their best wide receivers. Yeah. That'll even the playing field slightly. But you know about Alabama, they don't rebuild; they just reload. So,
and that is probably true.
How about the Rose Bowl on Ohio State going to go out and take care of business in the Rose Bowl?
Well, I think they probably will. And I mean, they'll have the most fun of all the bowl games. I know there's no national championships, but they tell me when the sun sets over the Sierra Mountains at the Rose Bowl, that's as good as it gets. So,
someday, George, we may get to experience it.
I hope that happens someday.
Only when the Maroon and Gold are playing there, though.
Yes.
We ain't going there unless the Maroon and Gold are playing.
Well, no, I actually got invited to go watch Wisconsin one year, and I couldn't bring myself because, it's kind of like you go to a Wisconsin game. When if somebody sees you there, it's that's not good.
Anything else college football we want to talk about before we move on?
I'll tell you, it was nice to see your Air Force beat Louisville. And Army just thrashed Missouri 34-32, 1 second left field goal, but hey, we'll take away.
Didn't get to play.
And that's something. Yeah, that's too bad.
It's the nature of the beast.
It's the nature of the beast.
And we might as well mention the World Junior Hockey Tournament that always brings so much excitement between Christmas and just after New Year's.
Yeah.
Was canceled today. The United States started yesterday the problems. A couple of players, they ended up forfeiting a game, and apparently there were more and more COVID cases. So they decided to shut the whole tournament down. Could this be in response to them shutting the women's U18 tournament down? I think it has a lot to do with that because they didn't want to go back and put themselves out there that, well, they weren't going to bring the women's back because then that would show that they were wrong by their decision. So rather than try to bring the women's back, I think they decided, okay, we've got some cases, we have to shut it down.
Well, I've seen a couple of the games. Sweden has a real nice team. Canada has a real nice team. The USA, I'm not quite sure. I never really got much of a chance to see tough competition.
They're playing 8:30.
Yeah, I know.
8:30 every night.
So. Yeah,
but having said that, Connor Bedard, I think his first name is, 16. He scored 4 goals against Austria.
Yeah.
And now we ain't gonna get to watch him.
Get to watch him. Yeah, that's too bad.
It is too bad.
No,
it's one of the showcase tournaments. Maybe this is good news for the UMD Bulldogs because the Bulldogs had 2 guys that were playing. I don't know what the COVID protocol is. Them going to be coming out of that, coming back to play UMD. But the Bulldogs got Mankato, who's very good. They play in Mankato on Thursday, and then they play at home on Saturday. So college hockey gets back underway with a couple of big series, including that Bulldogs Mavericks series, and of course, Mankato, they got another good team, and they got lots of 24, 25-year-olds. So sometimes you get the men versus the boys, so to speak. But we'll see what happens this weekend. The Bulldogs.
A friend of mine brought up a couple of years ago, let's go to the junior hockey tournament, and they're always generally in some pretty cool places like Vancouver or someplace like that. But that certainly could be a bucket list want. It's a great tournament.
I like that. I'm just imagining, I'm visioning myself sitting at the hockey arena for a couple of games every day for like 6 or 7 days. And I think I can make that work, George. I could find it in me.
Yeah.
But
who knows? Maybe they'll have it in Winnipeg one of these days.
Yeah, or maybe they'll have it in Minneapolis and St. Paul, Target Center and XL. St. Paul, Twin Cities, get on it. Let's go. Let's get it here. And it seems like many years ago they held it like in Grand Forks and either Fargo or
I remember one that time
along that line. So anyway, that would be close enough.
This tournament's getting to really be hot though, and it is a very good
why I don't think that's why they try to keep putting it on, despite what's going on in the world. And they just had to do what they had to do. Shall we talk a little basketball?
We can talk some buckets.
The Gopher basketball team?
They are 10-1, Tim. Now, if at the beginning of the year, if I said they're going to be 10-1 going into the new year,
you need to be put out of your misery because you lost it.
No, and and so they're doing very well, and they're going to. Let me see, I got it down here.
They're going to play Elkhorn State and be 11-1
Elkhorn State tonight. Yeah. And they're probably going to be, and then on the 2nd, they open up with Illinois. And so,
that's Sunday, by the way.
That's Sunday, by the way. So that season's picking up real good.
Yeah, and then we got to talk pro football here at some point, and the Vikings and whatever else. We'll finish up with that because there was some big news in that field today as well.
Certainly was.
So the Gophers. I mean, what was the guru saying? I mean,
well, I tell you, it really comes down to Jamison Battle, and he seems to be the difference. And I'm watching him. I mean, he can play 4 or 5, and actually probably play a 3, and he does it very well because he's got a good shot. He's always looking for the shot, but he is boxing out down there. And they say he's 6'9", but he's probably closer to 6'8", but he is really pieced together. And I saw a picture of him and Parker Fox the other day, and they're going to be just fine. And he'll be coming back here shortly. They're going to have a good front line. It's not going to be like Big Dan was a couple of years ago or anything like that. But hey, they're 10-1.
Okay, so they're 1-1 in the Big Ten.
They are 1-1 in the Big Ten.
They've got 18 games left. I believe they play a 20-game schedule.
Yeah.
Provided there's no COVID issues in the Big Ten.
Like the girls.
Let's hope.
Yeah.
How many wins are you going to predict the Gophers get?
Somewhere between 6 and 8.
6 and 8.
Yeah. And I know I'm being optimistic, and I generally am. But the thing of it is that nobody thought they'd ever be 10-1. Plus the fact they beat Michigan on its home court, and they've been winning on the road, where we've never really done that well. And so, I'm just saying, this team has surprises.
I think if the Vegas was putting a betting line on this, I think 7.5 or 8.5 would be the number.
Probably.
To be over under on that number. I think it's close there. I think obviously if you would have bet on that number in November, the number over under would have been like 3.5. But so that's
and I think we're underestimating the capabilities of Ben Johnson. He
seems to be able to motivate kids.
He's a maroon and gold man, and he wants to be there for a long time. And it's I think he's going to do just fine. He's got a nice staff piece together, and they're going to be all right.
Let's talk Timberwolves for a few minutes.
Yes.
If we might, if we should. Despite the COVID monstrosity that they've got going on,
and it is,
and very surprising that the NBA even made them play, considering they had 8 players out at one point, which seems to me, you only got probably 15 on the roster. I understand there's the G League and everything else. They brought some guy in from Washington, D.C. He got on a plane at 7 a.m. the other morning and contributed quite nicely in their Monday win, but I think they kind of ran out of gas Tuesday against the Knicks.
Yeah, I think they did too. But, the road trips that they've been on is, they just had a real tough schedule here the last 10 days. But they've been winning a few. And so, and the Knicks, they won 2 in a row for the first time this year. So these are streaks that they're going to go through and run up against. But, I tell you, if I'm an optimist about most sports, I have to take a look at a realistic view of the Timberwolves, and it's a long season yet. There's a lot of injuries that they're going to have to go through. I think they have a good foundation, judging from the way they shoot. They're playing well, and they're worth the price of the ticket.
Still think they're going to get the 45 wins, even though they're 16 and 7, 16 and 18.
That'd be a good.
I think going 40, they'd have to go 29 and 19.
They're capable of doing that.
They're capable of that. Yeah. So I'm still optimistic that when they get everybody back, Cat tested positive for COVID last January, missed 13 games. How many is he going to miss this time? That's maybe the bigger question that has to be answered, and we'll see what happens.
Oh, we've been talking about this COVID opponent now for a couple of years, and it's, I think maybe it just might be that with this new variant, maybe it'll start slowing up a little bit. But right now, it's going lickety-split.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Steph Curry makes his 3,000th three-pointer last night.
That's a lot of points.
Well, yeah, if you can do the quick math, that's 9,000, I think.
Yeah, that's a lot of buckets.
Speaking of a lot of points, LeBron went over 36,000. He went past, who was it? All of a sudden, I'm having a brain snap on who he went past.
Oh, Jordan?
No, maybe it was Karl Malone that he went past.
Might be Karl Malone.
Might have been Malone. Anyway, he had a triple-double, and Russell Westbrook had a triple-double in the game last night. They were playing Houston, I mean, whatever. But they were making a big deal that they had moved LeBron to center. That he was the center last night. He was the big guy. Well, he's been the big guy
forever.
Forever. What
position did he play? 3, 4, 5?
It was just like, remember Magic Johnson back in the 1980 finals, Kareem, Elton John.
Oh, yeah.
They moved Magic to center. Okay, they make him play center. Well, what does that mean in the NBA?
And it really didn't mean too much. I remember
the center standing outside the three-point line to draw the big guy out of the lane, so that you can bring, when they couldn't play zone, so that you could drive into the lane. So,
And they won the championship game.
And they won. They beat my Philadelphia 76ers, and I've hated them ever since. The Lakers. Anyway, anything else NBA?
I can't think of anything, but
the Wolves get the Jazz on Friday, and the Jazz, they're definitely the third best team in the West, and that's saying a lot because Phoenix and Golden State are 1 and 2, and Utah's right there. So no easy task for the Wolves on New Year's Eve.
No easy task. New Year's Eve. Oh,
Wild?
That's an awful lot to watch. Wild. What's going on there?
Well, they got COVID problems starting.
They do.
Jonas Brodin has tested positive, so now not only do you have Jared Spurgeon, the captain, out with a lower body injury that they don't know how long. Now you take their next, probably, in my opinion, their next best defenseman, and Jonas Brodin. He would think it's Mr. Dumba. And now you put him on the shelf for the Winter Classic that's coming up on New Year's Day, 6 o'clock. And obviously, Joel Eriksson Ek took a cheap shot here last week, and he gets injured. They won't say how long he's going to be out. So the Wild have lost 4 in a row, still sitting on top. The NHL is postponing games like crazy because now they said our players are not going to the Olympics. So we've got an 18-day window in February. Why would we try to rush these games back? Let's just keep canceling them, postponing them, and we'll fill them in February.
Sure.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
I am too.
There's no sense everybody getting an 18-day break in the middle. That's ridiculous.
No, you don't want to do that.
Let's try to get everybody healthy and whatever else, and then let's go play the games.
Well, and they have such a great team that you hate to see them get busted up by COVID and all the rest. And so if they have to take a little break and I agree. If they got to skip a couple of games, they're good.
So the Winter Classic is on Saturday, New Year's Day, 6 o'clock at Target Field.
Should be a dandy.
So I saw on Facebook today, I'm sure the tickets are gone, but somebody had 2 tickets that they were offering for $225 a piece. Well, on a nice day, I might have considered it. Maybe. But with the high of -8 here on Saturday, I don't know how cold it's supposed to be in the cities.
The winter's been miserable down
there. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to forego going to the game or going to go get liquored up at the bars and then head over to the game and see how long they can.
Gee, I never thought about that, but I do know this. I heard a couple of players being interviewed. They are looking forward to this. This is one of those rare things that they do. And
Dean Edison said the coaches will be cold, the trainers will be cold, the players
won't be cold.
Players will get out and play and do what they need to do.
Oh, they love that nice hard ice and the whole I mean, most hockey players,
and I'm sure they're going to have the football heated benches thing on the side that when they come sit down, their buns will be nice and warm and their faces will be froze like a So for hockey players, it's not their first time out on the pond.
No, they'll do this.
They'll be just fine. Any predictions on the game? I mean, with it being that cold, doesn't matter.
I don't think that's going to be an issue. If the Wild plays well, they'll have an opportunity to win.
And if I'm not mistaken, I didn't look this up. I'm going to have to go look it up now. I think this is the first time they played the Blues this season. I don't think
although they haven't.
I don't think
they
they played the Blues. So obviously they've got 8 games coming up with the Blues somewhere between here and the end of April and the end of the regular season.
Well, and these are important games. And you remember last year the Blues all of a sudden came back at the end. And so these are big games right now. We haven't seen
Colorado very often yet.
No, we haven't.
So we'll see how things go.
Yeah.
I'm going to hopefully be sitting at Amsoil Arena watching my Bulldogs at exactly the same time that the Wild game is on. So I'll probably have to watch it on the NHL Network the next day or at some other point.
Well, that's the other thing that's nice about it is you get to check all these games. I mean, oftentimes I come down at 6 o'clock in the morning, catch a period or 2 of the Wild, if not the Timberwolves, and it's right there, and then, of course, go to Have Gun Will Travel right after that.
There you go. You got to make sure that you got your Westerns in the morning.
Just before we leave this sports, I wanted to talk about the women's Gopher basketball team. And Sarah Scalia she was Big Ten Player of the Week last year. She had 37 points on 9 threes and 8 rebounds. And, they're 7-7. Northwestern game on Friday has been, however, canceled.
Yes. COVID for Northwestern. Disappointing loss to Drake.
Yeah.
And
it wasn't, they got beat up. Yeah.
Lindsay was not happy.
No, she wasn't.
She was unpleased.
Talking about Lindsay Whalen, though, she's going in the Basketball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, she's got a nice honor there.
And deserving.
Yeah.
It's very deserving.
Good stuff. So, let's see now. We got basketball, we got hockey, we got college football.
We got college football.
We got to talk about pro football.
We can talk about pro football.
What about our Vikings?
They only had to contain 2 players. They had to contain Donald or Aaron Donald, and they had to contain Cooper Kupp, and they didn't either. That might have been one of the funnest games watching Aaron Donald play that I've seen in a long time. He was playing against the Vikings though, and he was just kicking butt and taking names. He was amazing out there.
Yeah, and they didn't listen to us. They didn't try to block him with 2 guys.
They didn't try to block him with 2 guys, and they didn't try to cover Kupp with 2 guys either. And on top of that, Kupp, once he gets the ball, he can hurt you.
Yeah.
And they are fun football players to watch.
The disappointing for me was that the Vikings had no answer to stop the Rams running game. If you live in International Falls and you listen to my sports, Zimmer had a cut that said something to the effect that they line up a receiver on the one side and our defensive end was widening with them. And Dwayne turned to me and he goes, while the clip is playing, he goes, well, then coach them up so that they don't do it. And then he, yeah. So to me, I think Zimmer had told them what to do, but they couldn't get the defensive ends to do it that way. And Sony Michel absolutely killed us. The players talked about the lack of energy before the game. Anthony Barr had a comment that was put out on Twitter about an hour after the game was over, and basically said, we have no explanation. It was Christmas the day before. Did everybody stay up too late and party
Well,
too
and actually, Anthony Barr had a pretty good game, And
well, that's the thing. You just kind of like, how? I said this to Dwayne. Okay, let's say I'm an NBA basketball player. Sometimes we play 3 games in 4 nights. Okay, on the 3rd game, on the 4th night, you're pretty wiped out. I can see where maybe you don't have the juice, you don't have the energy. Okay, even though you're being paid millions of dollars. The Vikings played on Monday night, didn't play till Sunday. The Rams played on Tuesday and didn't play till Sunday. So they had a quote-unquote a shorter week. To me, if you're playing on a 6th day and you can't come up with the energy
to play that one game,
and it almost, when you got your playoff life on the line, and then somebody had the gall to suggest to me that it was the coach's fault that they didn't inspire the players to go out and play. I'm like, are you nuts? If you're a professional football player, we got volleyball on over here, beach volleyball on over here. Do they have a coach out there that's got to inspire them to go out and play volleyball?
No,
I sure hope the heck not. You're getting paid to play. I mean, I understand. I have a job. I got to go to work every day. Should I have to have the boss come in and kick me in the pants? No, the light is on. It's time to go to work. And when you only go to work, I mean, they go to practice. But when you got to turn the lights on, they put 60,000 people in the stands, and they paid $300 to come watch you play, and then you play like that. Uninspired football. I have no explanation.
No, I don't either.
Makes me want to take this microphone and. Yeah,
I understand that. That's why a lot of people won't pay that price. But they filled it up. They have good fan base. And a Minnesota fan base. Last night in Phoenix, Arizona, there was a lot of maroon and gold up in those stands.
Yeah, they sold out their.
They sold out their allotment, and and you see the Vikings and all their fans. I mean, banging on the drum, screaming "Skol!" If you can't get pumped up in that place,
yeah, I don't know where you're at.
I don't either.
I have no clue. And maybe because they were at home and the Rams were on the road. I mean, they were not home Christmas night. Maybe that was the difference.
So where do they go from here?
Well, they got to play the Packers.
They do.
And of course, the Packers are playing for home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Dwayne was hoping that they would be, have it all wrapped up by now, but. They don't. They're going to come out and they're going to be playing for everything. 2 big pieces of news for the Vikings today. Dalvin Cook came off the COVID list, and Adam Thielen's done for the season.
He's done.
As he had an ankle surgery, so he's done. He's out. He's gone. So the Vikings can start making their changes to their offense permanently there, and. Obviously, that makes it easier for the Packers to cover Justin Jefferson, who somebody said to me, is he becoming Stephon Diggs? And I'm afraid that that's the road we could be going down.
Yes.
That he could be this cancer, this fly in the ointment, this whatever, disgruntled person. And of course, Zimmer tried to deflect everything away and say he just wants to win and he wants to do everything. Well, I think everybody wants to win, I think, but they choose to keep their lips shut and whatever. So I get it. I understand. He feels like he wants the football, and I agree with him to a certain extent. I think Kirk's got to throw it into him a few times. Now, having said that, I think JJ he's broken off some routes. I can see where Kirk might say, am I going to trust you on this road? When they leave the huddle, he's like, is JJ going to run this one?
Are you going to follow all the way through on this?
Is he going to run this whole route? Is he going to run it all the way through? Because I'm going to throw it up to him, and is he going to be where I think he's going to be? And I think there's some lack of trust there, both ways.
Yeah.
And that's not a good combination.
No, it is
between
not.
your best player, best receiver, and your quarterback.
Well, and I've always thought that, you know, I'd like to see him go to his backs a little bit more often. Anyway, they've got you know, Delvin Cook. Just spread him a little bit wider. Send him out. He's a good he catches the ball well. He's a good receiver, and he can really run after he gets the ball. So maybe they still got to start using their backs. I always like what they used to call that AB circle, where the backs come out of the backfield, and even if it's only a little curl in front of the linebackers, and kind of work from there. The thing is about these days, linebackers are really good at pass defense, and if you can't get in front of them or get a step behind them, they're going to give you a tag.
What else did we learn from the NFL last week?
I think that Bill Belichick is sensitive to questions from the press, and he doesn't like to talk to anybody after he loses a football game. And
I agree. Everybody's a little crankier after a loss.
They are, and and the Bills kind of did it. So, I just it's amazing losing at home.
You know, the AFC is still wide open. Obviously, the Chiefs are in. They've clinched a playoff spot. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they've clinched home field advantage as well. I know they've clinched the division. But, 2 months ago, we had the Kansas City Chiefs dead. We were digging a hole.
Yeah, they're not dead anymore.
They
got better.
They're Frankenstein. They've been reincarnated. They look like the team to beat in the AFC. But having said that, did Buffalo answer a bell and say, "Hey, we're still viable"?
Yes.
Did New England lay an egg and say we're running out of gas? Somebody figure this out. Have they been reading the press clippings too much? But then there's this montage of teams that are 9-7 or 9-6, 8-7, 7-8, who all have a chance to be in there.
And who are the defending champions? Where are they at?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. You just kind of wonder. Obviously, everybody's kind of sitting there going, who has the chance to take care of business, and it's so wide open because I don't know who's going to come out of that.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, neither one of us picked Buffalo. So
no.
So, but there they are, and they're playing good football, and Josh Allen is a legitimate quarterback, and so. Who's to say where they can go from there?
On the other side, the NFC, Dallas whoops Washington, who was looking for a possible. They were in the 7th playoff spot just a couple weeks ago. They had 42 put up on them on the first half.
Yes, no, and I was always hoping that maybe Dallas wouldn't be as good as they are, and they might be as good as they are. They've really kind of peaked right at the right time, and so. We'll see what this weekend comes along, but they're a very good football team.
Yeah, the NFC the top 5 teams are kind of set. Looks like San Francisco may or may not have the 6th spot wrapped up, and then you got a whole plethora of teams vying for that final spot.
I see my pal Lance might be coming back to play for San Francisco.
Garoppolo's got a thumb injury. Done? Yes, I would say Trey Lance will be playing.
Yeah, which is fun. I like watching him.
Which might be good news for the Vikings because I think he'll fall on his. Anyway, they'll keep running the ball. That's what San Francisco has been doing. They've been running the football and been doing it quite effectively. So we should finish the thought. I think with. Do the Vikings win at Green Bay? Yes or no?
I don't think they can. No, I think Green Bay is peaked right now.
We always talk about being the eternal optimist. I just don't think Green Bay doesn't have more to play for, but they've got as much to play for, and they're at home. And I don't think Justin Jefferson handles the cold very well on Sunday. It is going to be chilly in Green Bay. I don't know how the Vikings will handle it. The Packers obviously have been down that road and playing it more often than the Vikings do. So I think it's a loss. And I think, unfortunately, I think the game against Chicago becomes a non-factor.
I think so too. Yeah.
I believe the game still is set for Sunday night, 7:20. So that'll make it even colder.
Yeah. Oh,
But having said that, that's where I see it. So
maybe they should consider putting a roof on that Lambeau Field one time.
One time. Just this weekend.
Yeah.
Can you guys throw that in for a couple $100 million? Should be able to get it done.
Some of the coldest games in the history of football have been played in that place.
Right there.
You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is it time to talk about John Madden?
Well, I just want to mention Gopher Wrestling for a second.
Sure.
Okay, they are in the Southern Scuffle.
Yes.
Chattanooga, Tennessee, and that's on Saturday and Sunday. And that's, I think, for the most part, it's on BTN. And then on January 7th, the Schmuck team from Des Moines coming up. And that's Iowa, and the Hawkeyes are going to be up, and they are actually the Gophers are going to go down, and so that is a big duel.
They are going to travel down, and they're probably going to go down as well.
Yeah,
Iowa number one in the nation still, I believe. Yes.
Yeah.
So don't see that changing. But yeah, it's time to get a little wrestling back into our lives.
Well, on top of that, Iowa even has a fair to middle and heavyweight. So who's to say what Gable will run into?
Gable will eat them up, spit them out.
Yeah.
There's on the side. Take care of it.
Anyway, that's kind of where that's at, and then we already covered the Elkhorn and Illinois games. Yeah, that's all I got for the Gophers. Let's talk.
Yeah, John Madden, kind of a shocker. They said died unexpectedly yesterday at 85. You know, John was a pretty big man.
He was.
This way.
Yeah.
Obviously, persona.
Well, he got drafted as an NFL lineman. Yeah. So
persona, obviously pretty big as well. But to me, a guy who was that big for that long, and he lived to be 85, that's not dying unexpectedly. That's, heart attack.
That's hopefully I'll make that as well. Yeah, but you got to, one of the things I liked about John Madden, although he was an extremely intense coach, he wasn't very intense towards his players. He was more on the referees as much as he was. He watched his players. He took care of his players. And I don't think when he got done coaching that he took the game that serious anymore.
Here's the thing that what kind of,
like everybody else. Yeah.
He doesn't seem like a Raider guy.
No.
You know what I mean? The Raiders back in the 70s, 80s were thought of as this dirty, mean, hard-hitting, cheap shot.
One guy cut off his finger after he broke it. He cut it off in the middle of the game so he could continue playing. That is Raider football.
So Madden didn't come off it like that. He didn't seem like a bad guy. He seemed like a good guy.
Really good guy.
And for a guy like that to be able to control that madness for 10 seasons, he won almost 76% of the games he coached.
Yeah, it's still a record.
It's incredible to think about that. They never had a losing season.
No.
As the head coach, and beat the Vikings in Super Bowl 11, 32-14. I still hold the grudge.
Well, I do too, but I'll tell you, he set the table for all the Bill Belichicks in the world.
Yeah.
Everybody that wants to come down and play this game and do it intently and love it the way he loved it and go about his business, that's what Belichick does. And, somewhere along the line, this is going to...
But think about the difference between Belichick...
Oh, big difference.
Who's in his almost 70s, still coaching, and Madden, who walked away at 42 years of age, and then did the bus ride. He didn't like to fly, so he had a bus that took him to all the games that he did.
How would you like to have taken a ride on that bus? I would have thought that is about as good as it gets.
Yeah, can you imagine the stories?
Oh no, they would you would have you going from.
What I didn't realize, I knew that he'd worked for 3 of the networks, but I didn't realize he worked for all 4.
All 4 networks.
ABC, CBS, Fox, and NBC. He did color for all of them. Kind of went around with where the big thing was. The stat that amazed me, I gave you the Super Bowl, the winning percentage, 16 Emmys.
16 Emmy Awards
Emmys as a sportscaster. For color commentary.
And you and I don't even have one, but he's at the end I watched the football game to watch John Madden. you know, and it just it was
doing
entertainment. You had fun
you
doing it.
never felt like he was being artificial. You know, you listen to some of these guys, and you can tell they're trying to embellish it to make it more whatever. Think of all the years he was with Pat Summerall. Pat was probably either hungover or drunk on the air, and Madden was able to carry it and make it work and do all that stuff. It was just like it was like your uncle, whoever, or your grandpa talking to you about the game, and he knew everything there was.
And right after Summerall give up the sauce, those two melded and became extraordinary.
Yeah, and I think Madden could have worked with anybody.
And did.
And it just, so to me, it was a tough day. It was interesting, Chris Berman said last night, most of us that are 50 and older think of John Madden as a football coach probably first, and then as a broadcaster. Those that are younger than 50 probably think of him as only a broadcaster or only about the video game.
The video game is
that's all they think about. They don't realize that he was a coach first, and so it's.
Well, he was on and he said, now the video games, I had no reason to think that was going to happen. He says this was beyond kind of all our control, and I know sometimes things take, you know, they bring on a life of their own, and I think John Madden was having fun. His name was out there. I mean, for now 70 or 80 years, his name's been out there, and people have had an opportunity to get to know who John Madden is. And I mean, we've seen a lot of great football coaches. I mean, from Lombardi, you know, right down the line, we've seen some fantastic football coaches. But John, he gets to ride in his bus alone. And chewing on turchicken.
Yeah, the six-legged chicken.
The six-legged chicken.
And they're turkey for Thanksgiving.
He rip off a leg and give it to some big lineman that he interviewed. I mean, no, the guy definitely had a sense of humor. He must have been fun if he was your dad. I know that not all things between sons and dads work out, but he must have been a damn good dad.
I think good stuff. And, I always, you know, you're always comparing color guys because, you know, sometimes we talk about the announcers that are on, and we talk about I can't stand listening to this guy or whatever.
I never heard that about Madden.
Never heard that about Madden. Nobody ever said, well, I turned it off because Madden was on. I hear that like about Romo. I love listening to Romo.
Romo don't bother me.
Because Romo tells you what's already happening. He sees the game so well, and some people think that it's fake or it's too much or whatever. I love getting inside the game. I like listening to a guy who's willing to put his neck out there and say, I think this is what's going to happen, and it doesn't sound artificial.
And Chris Collingsworth too. I mean, there's just some good analytic people out there. They see this stuff. And
the guy who did when they did the Vikings game last week, I thought that they were trying to put too much into it. They were faking it, trying to make it. I think Troy Aikman, I think he puts too much out there. There's not a bad player out there at all. It seems like everybody's a great player, and maybe they all are. Maybe I'm whatever on that, but like I said, it just.
Well, I just, you know, I mean, we've both done color. We know how difficult it is to do, and every time I say, bam, I'm going to think of John Madden. Everything I'm going to say, pow, he's in there. Bam, he goes.
We're going to get you a telestrator.
Yeah, that's right. You know, circle it up and go and go and go. But like I say, he brought the entertainment out on football for me, and what a fine man. Yeah.
Anything else?
No, I'm pretty much had it, I think.
Hope everybody had a Merry Christmas. Have a Happy New Year.
Stay safe.
We'll see you in 2022.